Okay, good morning guys. This is UCSP weeks 5 to 6. We will be focusing on the significance of cultural, social, political, and economic symbols and practices. Okay. Again, this lecture is going to last for this week and the coming week. So 2 weeks po itong ating lectures. And same with the activities, you will be doing all the activities for a couple of weeks. So there's no need to rush in doing the activities. And at the same time, gaya na lagi kong paalala, always try to assist your classmates who have no internet connection, no data, or any way to access the internet so that those who have, you can just download this one and then share it offline with your classmates, okay? And for questions, again, you can just ask me through our GC. And for clarifications, utang na loob mga kapatid, you message me from 8 a.m. No, at least 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can actually just message me on our GC. Wag hindi na kailangan mag-PM sa akin with regards to things that you wanted to clarify on the subject. Okay? And then, what else? Again, as a reminder, every Friday you will be submitting your output, just the finished output on your respective kiosk. And then at the same time, um, ano to, for the health reminders again, make sure that those people who are submitting your output are wearing face masks, face shields, and they are bringing their own ball pen. And yeah, that's all. You basically need to be to be conscious with the health protocols, and you need to strictly follow the health protocols set by the IATF. Hindi naman yan para sa amin lang, but also for your guardians who are submitting your output. But basically, you can 'di ba? You can submit it na. Kasi most of you are more than 15, and 15 years old and above are already allowed to go outside. So you might as well submit it yourself. But make sure that you are wearing face shield, face masks, and of course you are bringing your own ball pen. So let's go on to business. So for your learning task one, it says there that you need to analyze the images on your module. Nandiyan yan sa module ninyo, may mga naka-drawing. I just come up with a different with a different image here, okay? So analyze the images on your module and identify which image shows ethnocentrism and cultural relativism. This is actually a recap from what we have discussed from the previous weeks, okay? So the first one there, it says na in the Philippines daw, it is said that a person who came from the northern part of Luzon, especially the Ilocano or Stingy or Kuripot, totoo ba yon? May mga Ilocano ba ako dyan, estudyante? Talaga bang kuripot kayo? Or at least not you, the parents, are they really kuripot? Then you write your answers on your paper. Again, in answering questions, you can answer in Tagalog. It doesn't matter to me if you are answering in English or Tagalog or in Taglish, as long as you can express your ideas. That is what's important to me. Okay? So number one, talaga bang kuripot ang mga Ilocano o ang mga tao who came from the northern part of Luzon? Okay? Number two, is it true that Filipinos are being hospitable? Okay, when we say hospitable, masyado tayong maalaga when someone visited our house. We are very generous to them kapag may mga bisita tayo. Diyan daw kilala ang mga Pilipino. Pero I want your answer to be based on your real life experiences, di ba? Like, talaga ba kapag kayo mismo binibisita ng kung sino man, barkada, kamag-anak, talaga bang you treat them special? Kasi it might not be this might be a trait of a Filipino, but basically it might not be your practice inside your home, di ba? So what the answer that I want is your real life experiences with regards to this matter. Okay? And then the next is Philippines daw are known for having variety of uh hindi, bago yon. Yung number 3 muna. Some says that rich people daw are snobby. Ayan, kagaya ng nasa picture na yun. Talaga bang snobby? Talaga bang, ano to? What's snobby in Tagalog? Snobbish. Talaga bang snobby ang mga mayayaman? Talaga bang hindi sila ganoon ka nakikisama sa mga mahihirap na tao? Is it true? Or based from your experience, hindi naman. Okay? And then the next one is, eto, medyo natatabunan yata. Philippines are known for having variety of delicacies which use different cooking techniques but all native food daw are tasty and delicious. Do you agree na lahat ng luto at pagkaing Pinoy ay masasarap? Hmm? Do you agree? Ako at some point, yes. Pero hindi ko gano'n kagusto ang kare-kare kasi that's well, it's not a significant Filipino food because the food came actually from um a foreign country. It is their original, but basically Filipinos are also known for uh, cooking kare-kare. But I don't really like kare-kare that much, di ba? Pati yung mga gustong-gusto ninyo, ano yan, lumpiang Shanghai. I ate lumpiang Shanghai, but not that much. I don't really crave for that. But of course, sinigang is very good, di ba? So, in your own opinion, talaga bang masasarap lahat ng pagkaing Pinoy? Or do you think there are other foods that does not originate from this country but that you believe is more masarap compared to ones that are natives? Okay? And then lastly, number 5, some cultures daw include the eating of dog meats. Okay? So, dog. Okay, going back, I just post the video. Somebody talked to me. Okay, so number 5, some cultures daw include the eating of dog meat. Meron ba sa inyong kumakain ng aso? Mhm. In Vietnam and some other ano to Asian countries, yes. But in the Philippines, yes, meron talagang mga kumakain ng aso, lalo na yung mga lasinggero, di ba? And basically, eating dog meat is actually part of a culture of some people here in the Philippines living in a specific place, di ba? Although technically that's an illegal activity, but there are actually people who are eating dog meat, di ba? Um, I don't know kung buhay na kayo noon during the time of Noli de Castro's Magandang Gabi Bayan, pag Saturday yon. Uh, Meron talaga silang in-expose with regards to the trading of dogs, specifically for dog meat. And then it was also reported na yung mga, I don't know if it is true napanood ko lang naman yung talagang uod sa laman ng karne ng aso ay hindi naman daw talagang namamatay during the process of cooking, nagsasubside lang and then they get to reactivated. I am not saying this is true. Kinikwento ko lang. They get to parang reactivated once the meat gets cold, di ba? So that's make it parang very madumi yung mismong meat ng aso. That was just part of the expose. I'm not saying that it is true. But again, consumption of dog meats is illegal. Killing dogs is actually illegal for the consumption, for the purpose of consumption. So basically, I don't know what is your ano to, what will be your answer on this part of the activity. I just wanted to read it, okay? So again, if you have questions, punta lamang po sa ating GC and then I'm going to respond to all of your questions, okay? So, learning task number 2, meron nito sa Gemini nagtatanong kailan daw po gagawin itong learning task number 2, which is the Iceman and the Alps. Okay. So in 1991 daw, a group of hikers found in the Alps found the body and notified the authorities regarding that. And then some says nakakamatay lang. And then during the autopsy, it was found out that the body may be around 5,000 years old. And they called it the Iceman. And his body daw, the clothing and tools were preserved intact because of the ice where the death occurred. Okay, so the discovery daw of the Iceman gives a mystery to solve. So in your module, you have there the artifacts. Ito yung mga nakuha, the copper ash, flint knife, unfinished longbows, flints, mushrooms, 14 bones tipped arrows, 2 that is finished and 12 unfinished. And then during the autopsy, it says that there is a cerebral trauma to the head, merong tama sa ulo, cuts and bruises on hands, nakipag-away ba? Lumaban ba? Arrow wound in shoulders, pinana. Then blood from 4 people, DNA, so the crime involves other people. And then 57 carbon tattoos, dots and lines on lower spine, back of knees, and the right ankle, and about 5,000 years old yung corpse mismo. It basically is preserved. Ito, galing mismo yan sa internet, yung nasa picture na yan. So, it was basically preserved daw because of the ice. So what you need to do now is you need to answer all the related questions. So by yourself, use at least 6 pieces of evidences to tell a story about the events leading to the Iceman's death. You can be creative with that. Remember that the only wrong answer in history is an answer that lack of evidence. Okay, you can be creative. So number 1, based from the activity, what is the significance of human material remains and artifactual evidence in interpreting social, cultural, and political processes? Kasi based from the remains, based from the things that we are discovering, of the things that have been used in the past, we can actually deem how did they live, di ba? And this Iceman actually brought has brought materials from the past that may serve as a basis para malaman natin ano ba yung meron doon sa nakaraan and how do they live their life doon sa nakaraan. And then number 2, as compared to our lives today, what difference do we have from these men who live 5,000 years ago? Of course, you know that, di ba? And then as you can see, and difference daw, biological difference and then cultural differences. When we talk about the biological differences, yung ating itsura, pananamit, mga gamit, how does it differ from them? And then sa cultural differences din naman, yung gamit nila, like for example, itong copper ash, flint knife, how does it differ from the things that we are using right now? Okay? And then, as you can see, there is a big difference between the biological and social-cultural difference features between the Iceman and you. Okay? What do you think changes happen in all aspects of your life from time to time? So you need to describe that. Okay. So on the next activity for learning task number 3, this is the learning stations. You need to describe for each pictures the cultural way of living, the physical capacity in doing tasks, and the kind of leadership based on the pictures that are shown to you. Now, there are pictures that are in your modules on page 36 and 37. But the problem is, some students complain na, sir, ang hirap pong i-discern, ang hirap pong intindihin ng nasa picture, especially it is black and white, diba? So it's okay. For those who have answered the activity based on the picture, that is fine. That is fine. Okay. But for those who don't, you can have this as an alternative picture. I am going to upload the PowerPoint itself for you to go back to it doon sa inyong respective GCs, for you to go back to it in cases that you will be doing the activities at a later time. Okay. So again, Yung mismong nasa picture na inyong module, that is fine if you or your answer are based from it. If not, you can use this picture. So station, alternative picture for station 1. This is a farming community. Okay? May not be in the Philippines, but it's still a farming community. What are the cultural ways of living? Physical capacity on doing tasks, and the kind of leadership they have in a farming community. For station number 2, this is a slum community. Okay, slum community meaning it's a squatter. Okay, this is a slum community. What are their cultural ways of living? What are the physical capacities in doing tasks, and the kind of leadership that they have? 'Di ba? Kasi it may differ from the things that are practiced in other communities. Okay? And this is station number 3. Okay? People living in a condominium. So what are the cultural ways of living? What are the physical capacity in doing tasks? And the kind of leadership that they have. Okay? And then this is station number 4. This is a religious community. What are the cultural ways of living? What are the physical capacity in doing tasks? And the kind of leadership that they have. Okay? And next, station number 5. This is a government. That's President Rodrigo Duterte. This is a government. Okay, so what are the culture ways of living if you are working in the government? What are the physical capacities in doing tasks? And what is the kind of leadership that they have at present during the President Duterte's time? Okay, you can answer that on your respective answer papers. Okay, again for question, doon lamang po magtanong sa ating mga GC. Okay? So, a guide questions for those pictures in 2 to 3 sentences explain how our cultural and socio-political ways has changed over the years. Yes, it's changed. It may not. It may change to improve or it may change to deteriorate. Depende yan sa inyong observation on how this things change over the years. Okay, you just need to write your answer in your paper. Okay, going back to our lectures, we have here the cultural evolutions. Okay, so cultural evolution, we have there the Paleolithic age or the Old Stone Age. This is actually the time na sinabi ni John Lubbock in 1865 as the Old Stone Age, di ba? The Stone Age. Okay? It is derived from the Greek word palaios, which means old, and lithos, meaning stone. Okay? So sa panahon na ito, the earth daw was extremely cold and the ocean levels were much lower than they are now. So dahil sa malamig na klima, they use the period is also called the Ice Age. Dahil sa malamig na klima, they use stones in carving for their caves and shelter, and then they use simple tools and weapons made from unpolished stone. So yung stone ay mamalaking part doon sa kanilang pagkabuhayan because they make use of it in creating fire. They make use of it in creating tools for cooking, and they make use of it in making carving their caves for shelter, and then at the same time they used it in creating tools for hunting. Okay, this is also the time and period when people discovered the use of fire through the use of stone for their protection against cold and temperature and in cooking their own food. Human beings now during these times were grouped up in a small societies like bands, and they subsist by gathering plants and fishing. 'di ba? So doon sila nabubuhay through ano to, gathering plants and fishing, 'di ba? And then the next period naman daw is the Neolithic age, okay? It is also called the first agricultural revolution. Sa ano to, sa panahon kasi ng Paleolithic age kasi, so yung kanilang ways of living is nomadic. So meaning, pupunta sila sa isang lugar and then they are going to exhaust all the resources of that place, and then after pag wala na, pupunta na naman sila sa isang lugar for them to be able to find new resources for living. So they do not own anything, they do not develop government, they do not ano to, they do not have the knowledge in creating a systematic way of subsistence together, di ba? So ang nangyayari kasi is that they simply live, exhaust the resources, and then move to another place for ano to, for in finding new resources. While in the Neolithic age naman kasi, this is the time na raw where they started developing systems in agriculture. Doon sa sistema mismo ng pagtatanim, they also develop lifestyle of hunting and gathering of agriculture and settlement kind of society that leads to population increase. So nagkakaroon na sila ng pagsasama-sama, and then dahil nagsasama-sama na sila, nagkakaroon na ng ano to, na interaction between people, and eventually they married, and then nagkaroon ng increase in population. Okay? So from being nomads daw during the early stage, human began to develop sedentary type of society kung saan nagsimula na silang bumuo ng mga villages and towns, and they group themselves together. Okay? In this era din daw, they were never contented of their accomplishment. They kept on discovering things for their own convenience. So they also started developing and creating tools and things out of metals during these periods na. Okay? So Neolithic age daw uses polished stone tools, kasi sa Paleolithic hindi polished yung kanilang mga stone. Basta pinagkabit-kabit lang yan nila, and then they find ways on how to make use of it. Unlike with Neolithic na, they polish stones, domestications of plants and animals, nagtatanim na sila, hindi na lang sila basta pumupunta kung saan meron yan, sila na mismo nagtatanim at nag-aalaga ng mga hayop, and then they are already living in permanent places, okay? While in the metal age, they are now using metals, okay? They are now using metals. And to, they use metals in creating yan na yung currency, nagsimula na rin gumawa ng mga weapons, spear shields, household utensils made of metals, bows, and cups. Okay? So, sa panahon na rin ito, nagsimulang mas maging systematic yung kanilang pamumuhay. They do not just live in a village or town, but they also develop social, cultural, political, economic systems. And nagsimula na rin silang buuhin yung mga tribo, empires, and state were recognized during the time of the Metal Age. Okay? So, dito nagsimula yung ating early civilization. And then, early civilization and the rise of the states daw. So, specific notes, Mesopotamian civilization daw, it is called the land between two rivers and the cradle of civilization. So Mesopotamia records first writing history, the cuneiform, sa kanila nagsimula yung sistema ng pagsusulat, and then cities in Mesopotamia as government. Rulers, warriors, patron god, and functioned independently. Actually, meron silang 1, 2, 3, 4 cities. These are Uruk, Kish, and Lagish. Okay? Each one has its own government. Each one has its own rulers, a group of warriors, some patrons and gods, and function independently from each other. Okay, so at the center of the city, they built a ziggurat, which is a massive pyramid-like structure as a reminder of their independence between each other. Okay, and then continuing, Mesopotamian warrior gods govern and protect its people. Okay, so these gods actually are the group of people who started the government, di ba? And then they all these ano to, military governments creates the dynasty, and these dynasties has lasted for several years and lasted from generation to generation mula sa ano to, isang pamilya yung pamilya mismo nagsasaling-saling sa kanila yung power to rule doon sa dynasty. And then the next civilization would be the Egyptian early civilization would be the Egyptian civilization. It is again one of the oldest civilizations. Their kings are called pharaoh. These pharaohs govern, owns most of the lands, and controls an army. Okay, so pharaohs are considered by these people as their gods. Okay, you actually have a knowledge with regards to how pharaohs works kasi in the Bible we have read about pharaohs in the Bible and their actions. Okay, and then in Europe, Henry VII won the War of Roses and creates the Tudor dynasty, while in Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella took control of the country coming from the Muslims and starts a global power of Spaniards. Ito na yung simula ng kanilang conquest doon sa iba't ibang parte ng mundo, and once they have invaded a specific area, a specific region, a specific territory, they were named as part of the Spain's territory and colony. Okay, in France, Louis XIV created an absolute monarchy, and then in 1914 the Treaty of Versailles was created and ends World War I and created several states. So during the creation of Treaty of Versailles, diyan nagsimula yung new countries has been formed. While in 1945, United Nations was created to end World War II na nagsimula naman noong 1939. Okay? Actually, yung ating mismong kalagayan ngayon, it continuously evolves, di ba? We would not know how long will this independence and democracy last in the Philippines, but basically there is always a constant threat to a nation's democracy, especially na you desire to conquer another country, to colonize and take control of it, especially its resources, is nasa isip ng mga ilang leaders sa ibang bansa, di ba? Okay, so the next thing that you need to do is read The Settled Life by Dr. Senta Herman. It's actually just an essay, okay? And then, you need to do activities 4, 5, 6. Wag na ninyong gawin si activity 7, yung I will survive. There's no need for you to do that. And then, lastly, you need to do the assessment, okay? So this is how you are going to go about for this and the coming week. Okay. If you have questions, you can always ask me in our GC. Okay. So 7 activities lang. Ay, no. 6 activities lang ang gagawin ninyo. That's already for 2 weeks. But I might be recording lectures for 7 and 8 para mabilis tayong matapos. But I do not want to bombard you with several things. Tapos magrereklamo kayo na hindi na kayo makapag-ML kasi puro na lang kayo module. Okay, so, guys, this is my take with regards to that, common reklamo na ginagawa ng ibang mga estudyante. I'm not saying that they are yours. Simple lang naman yan. When you start working, hindi kayo pwedeng mamili ng trabahong gusto nyo lang at kung kailan nyo gustong ipasa. There will always be deadlines, di ba? And since you are working for people and for an organization, you adjust. And this things that we are doing right now is a practice, is a training on how you should be doing it in the corporate world kapag kayo ay nagsimula ng magtrabaho. Whether you finish high school or not, you will be part of something and you will be headed by someone. 'Di ba? Hindi kayo ang lagi nasusunod. That is why it is always important to take on tasks, 'di ba? Do it as it is required. Huwag tayong tao na puro reklamo sa sarili. Okay? Puro lahat na lang nirereklamo. Bakit? Kasi kakalakhan nyo yan, magiging ugali nyo yan, and that is not going to be a very good trait of a person. So that is just a tip. Kasi kailangan matuto tayo to take on responsibility. Madali lang yung trabaho. Di ba? Madali lang yan. Bakit? Kailangan mo lang i-prioritize ano ang dapat na nauuna. Kailangan mo lang lagyan yan ng sistema. Di ba? Hindi kailangan magreklamo sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Okay? Make it a habit to do things first. Minsan kasi reklamo tayo ng reklamo pero pag ginawa nyo, ang dali lang pala. Di ba? So make it a habit to do things first and at the same time, kapag hindi kaya, magtanong, humingi ng tulong. Kapag nahihirapan, you can always ask questions to your teachers. Okay? So that's it for this week and next week. I hope you are having a good week and then at the same time, keep safe. Huwag kayong gala ng gala, may virus pa rin. Okay? So again, for questions, doon lamang po sa ating GC. Pag wala ng tanong, thank you and you always have a good day at all times. Walang mahahawaan ng COVID. And basically, always make sure that you and your family are safe during this time of pandemic. Yun, nasa pandemic kaya kasi tayo. Lahat mahirap. So wag na nating mas pahirapin by making several complaints. Okay? Thank you everyone.